now I'm talking about Indonesian, I'm going to be real about it, who are Indonesian living in the US and refuse to be educated.
It's about attitude, I think. It's about the eagerness or the willingness to learn and to educate yourself on things that you're not entirely familiar with. Because I find that a bit of a problem in our society or in the world in general is that people might be a bit closed-minded to certain issues. And the way to counter that is by staying woke, in the sense that you need to be willing to educate yourself on the things that you don't know much about.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to my segment, Community Story, where I highlight different individuals from community here, locally, nationally, and even internationally. Today, I'm so excited to welcome Angelyna Victoria, known as Angie. So welcome, Angie. Thank you so much for your time.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Can I ask first, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 16.
You're 16. Oh, so yeah. Okay. When I came across Project Buzz ID, I don't know, did I say that right? Project Buzz ID. Okay. I was so excited that it was it's run by young people, and especially like Generation Z, like yourself. So that's why I'm super excited. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. So if you don't mind me asking, tell me a little bit, what is exactly Project Buzz ID?
So Project Buzz is a social platform that I started last year in April of 2019. And it's essentially a social platform that aims to inform, educate, and empower the Indonesian youth to talk about the social issues around us, because I truly believe that change in social justice begins through a buzz, begins by people talking about it, by people taking action and beginning to do things about what we want to see in the world. So what we do on our platform is we post educational and informational posts on our account, and we also like to encourage our audience to talk about these issues as well. And we just generally like to facilitate an environment that is very open-minded and educated, because that's kind of our mission statement.
That's super awesome. So tell me, is it just you, or is there other people in this project?
Project Buzz is a team of 34 members. So all 34 members are Indonesian, and they range from grades 9 to first year of university. So yeah.
Okay. Do you all do different things? Tell me a little bit about that. Like, I'm just curious because how are you all so organized? And then the graphic design on Instagram, I know like there's like a lot of apps you can use, but I'm just so amazed that you all are so organized, and you're actually pretty well educated compared to some people who are living in the US. Now I'm talking about Indonesian, I'm going to be real about it, who are Indonesian living in the US and refuse to be educated. So tell me a little bit about that. Do you have different, what should I say, like different division, I know you mentioned something about different heads of maybe each topic.
Right. So the way that we divide our work is I have the title of founder-in-chief. So I run the overall operations and everything we put up on our account, all of our collaborations, things like that. And I also have I have 3 divisions: the content division, the design division, and the event division. So for the content division, obviously they're in charge of our research and our writing. And within the content division is also our translators and reviewers, because if you notice, all of our posts are bilingual. So we have the English version and the Indonesian version of our posts, just so that it's digestible for a larger audience. And I have a head of content, which helps me organize that part of the organization. And then we have the design division, of whom are incredibly talented. We have 2 co-heads of design that help me organize that. And currently the event division does not have a head, because I was initially planning to have project leaders for each of our events. However, due to COVID-19, we're suspending our event activities for the current moment. So hopefully that will be up and running soon.
Sounds so organized. Probably more organized than some organizations. Did you ever run for student body at school? Where did you get all this experience?
I did actually. I ran for a student council president in 2018, I want to say, but I actually didn't win.
Okay.
I lost to one of the seniors, and I take that as a learning experience because that run, even though I didn't win, I did learn a lot of things then, and I feel that it kind of pushed me into the direction I was meant to go in, because when I didn't get the position as student council president, I decided, okay, the things that I wanted to do as student council president, I'm going to do them anyway. So I invested more time into Project Buzz and into other activities. And so I see it as a blessing because now I don't only limit my activities to my school community, but I try to involve other school communities in Jakarta as well. And right now our account is reaching more audiences, considering, I mean, you guys are from the US, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, I think it was a push in the right direction for me.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you all. Actually, someone from California told me about the Instagram account, and actually my niece also in Indonesia told me about the Instagram account. So the first time she told me, I was like, I don't know what this is. But then another friend told me and said, you really gotta go check it out. So I did, and I thought, oh, this is really interesting. So I was super interested to talk to you and then just anybody from your project. In your own words, you mentioned this in your account in IG. What is woke? Can you tell us a little bit more? I know what it is, but just in your own words, what does really mean? Like, stay woke, be woke. What is that for you?
To me, staying woke is, well, first of all, it's about being aware of the situations in not only our society, but also the societies around the world. So it's being aware about world issues and the things going on. But it stems further than awareness as well. I think that being woke is also all about keeping an open mind. It's about being open to different cultures, different opinions, different experiences. And I think the most important thing about staying woke is about attitude. I think it's about the eagerness or the willingness to learn and to educate yourself on things that you're not entirely familiar with. Because I find that a bit of a problem in our society or in the world in general is that people might be a bit closed-minded to certain issues. And the way to counter that is by staying woke, in the sense that you need to be willing to educate yourself on the things that you don't know much about. Because the thing is, in our world right now, there are so many different experiences because everyone experiences different things. Everyone experiences different levels of prejudice, different marginalizations, and it's impossible for us to be able to know about to such a deep level of all of them. But I think staying woke is not about knowing everything, but it's about the willingness to learn and to educate yourself on everything going on.
Yeah, I'm just amazed that a young Indonesian person living in Indonesia actually realize that there's a lot going on in this world. So I really appreciate that. You speak Bahasa Indonesia too, yeah?
Yes,
Yeah.
I try my best. I'm not amazing, but I
Oh,
get
that's
by.
okay. Were you born in Indonesia or?
I was born in Melbourne, Australia, but I lived in Jakarta all my life.
Okay, okay. So I'm gonna ask you something. I'll ask you in Indonesian, but you don't have to answer in Indonesian. But I think just to kind of sometimes when you say some things in Indonesian, is hit the spot a little bit more,
Right.
right?
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah. So you kind of explain why you're starting this project by ID and why these social justice topics. So here's the question. kenapa orang Indonesian netizen should care? Kenapa mereka harus peduli gitu? Because Indonesian netizen, in my experience, are super, what's the right word? Like, they're mean, you know, they're really like on social media, right? And then even like people that I know they're really nyinyir in bahasa Indonesia, like, right? But then when you see them in person, they're actually have no, you know, like they're really not going to say anything to you. But you know, when they're hiding using their social media account, that's when they're more critical. So why do you think Indonesian netizens should care?
Well, I feel like Indonesian netizens are, let's say, very vocal about their opinions on social media. So I think what's important is switching the focus of that vocalness from something negative to something positive. Because, like I said that change starts from a buzz, right? It starts from talking about something. So, well, the goal of Project Buzz is to turn that negative or maybe confusing chatter into something that's more positive and educational, right? I think in general, it's very important to not only educate yourself on the things going on around you, but also the things worldwide and internationally, because I feel that our wokeness or how aware or educated we are is very limited if we restrict it to knowing about issues that affect us directly. I feel that the true meaning of being woke, also to answer your previous question, is to educate yourself on not only the things that affect you directly, but also the things that don't affect you at all. Because I think that is a true measure of human empathy. It's being able to fight for those who may not be able to fight for themselves, or perhaps they are, but they need their voices to be amplified. So I feel that it's very important to do this, and it's very important to do this even if it doesn't affect us directly, because I feel that it is a direct measure of our own privilege. Because I think that it is a privilege to be able to talk about and to discuss these things instead of experiencing them firsthand. So I feel that with that privilege in mind, it's so important for us to take social responsibility and to contribute to the society and to the world around us by educating ourselves on these issues. And beyond education comes also direct help, and this comes in the form of, say, signing petitions, of donating. So these extra efforts are, I feel, part of what we can do, part of how we can exercise our privilege, considering we come from a place where we don't necessarily struggle in the same way as these other people do, because that's also a misconception. I feel like people tend to compare the struggles of one community with another community. Say this community is crying out for help, but we're saying, oh, well, we struggle too, so why should we help them when we can just help ourselves? But the thing is, helping communities are not exclusive of each other. You can help both. So why not we extend our privilege, considering that we don't experience exactly what they experience and they don't experience exactly what we experience. So in that sense, we can all lift each other up, and hopefully we can make progress in our society. So I guess to sum it up, to answer your question, why is it important that we care? Why is it important that we actually do something? Why we should talk about it? I think it's because with the privilege that we have, it is our responsibility to.
Yeah, I'm feeling very hopeful that we have young people like you who really care about this, because sometimes I feel like I don't know what young people think about, think about this, and maybe some who would like to go protest, or some who would like to share this kind of education, feeling like maybe their parents tell them, don't post things like that. Udah jangan ikut-ikutan, right? That's very Indonesian way of dealing with some things. Have anybody ever say that to you? Maybe your parents, maybe your family, maybe friends who saying like, in Indonesian will be like, lo ngapain sih? Like, what are you doing like with all this? Has anybody ever said that to you?
To my face, at least. No.
Okay.
I can't say anything for what is said, not directly to me, but I do feel sometimes perhaps the social pressure or some form of judgment in expressing yourself a certain way or talking about certain issues, that because in Indonesia a lot of issues may seem very sensitive or perhaps even taboo.
Right.
So but the thing is, issues like this are the ones that we should be talking about. Because they're taboo, that's why we need to talk about. That's why we need to break the stigma, of course. For example, mental health. In Indonesia, people's perception on mental health is, I'd like to say, a little bit closed-minded.
Yes.
For example, if you say you struggle with depression, they'll just be like, oh, like, apaan sih? Like, don't be sad, like, just get over it, things like that. And that in turn actually it didn't become an inhibiting factor, but it became a motivating factor actually to talk about these things. Because when you realize how little things are talked about, even though they're so important, that gives you more drive to talk about it, because it is really important for teenagers to talk about things like mental health. In fact, like, talking about it could save lives. So I feel that even though there is a little bit of judgment, I feel that in the end, it's ultimately worth it because you're doing what needs to be done. These topics are topics that need to be talked about. So no matter what judgment or obstacles there are, ultimately, these are things that we have to do so that we can progress as a society. There actually has been an instance on Instagram where Project Buzz uploaded a post on a topic that seemed quite taboo, and Instagram actually took it down. Now, I'm not entirely sure why. I never got a report. I never got a response from the Instagram team, but I assume it was because it was on a, let's say, sensitive topic.
Yeah.
Now, the thing with that is it actually did open my eyes more to see how important it is to push through for this change in society. But of course, we have to be careful as well, and we have to be very sensitive when we talk about things like this, because we have to be respectful at all times to all cultural views. Because the thing is, people form ideas and perceptions on things because of the culture that they grew up in. Because not only culture as in like historical culture and, you know, our ethnic culture, but also our social culture, how we grew up, the environment we grew up in. And so we can't really blame people for having these ideas and these perceptions, because more often they're implicit. So it's something that they automatically think with. So this is why I don't really believe in cancel culture, or say if someone says something offensive or potentially questionable, then you immediately attack them and say like, oh, like you're a terrible person. You shouldn't have a say in anything anymore, because they grew up thinking that this is what's right, and we can't blame them for it. So rather, we like to take a more educational and respectful approach to it, because I feel like that's the way that we can truly change minds, instead of, you know, shoving our opinion down their throat.
Yeah. You're more wiser than me. So it's so true when we talk about mental health. So Modero actually hosted a mental health listening session. It's really just a listening session here in Philadelphia for the Indonesian community about 2 years ago, and we work closely with the City of Philly health, I think behavioral health department, because when someone is not well mentally, of course, then it can lead into substance abuse, you know, like addiction and all that. So I'm so glad that you talk about that, because I think that's not just specifically in the Indonesian community, but you know, maybe Asian American community in general. Let me just mute this. You talk about cancel culture. That's interesting. I'm learning because I'm not always. Give me a second. Why are we showing this? Speaker view. Did we highlight somebody? Hold on, Angie. I just want to mention to everybody here also that you are welcome to ask questions, and please do ask questions and put your questions in the chat. Okay, cancel my spotlight. All right. Yeah, so cancel culture. I'm learning all these things. So how does your parents feel about this? Do they know about the Project Buzz ID? What do they feel? How do they feel? Are they supporting, or tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, they do. They do know about Project Buzz. They have been very supportive of everything that I want to do right with the organization. In terms of their involvement, it's mostly, my independent activities, but they're always on the sidelines, like cheering me on, telling me to keep going. My dad helps me with his connections sometimes, so it helps in that aspect. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, related to parents, as Generation Z, and I feel like I'm probably as old as your parents too. How do you see your parents' generation? Do you think we are woke or no?
I feel like it would be impossible to, generalize an entire generation because I feel like there might be a little bit of stigma against that generation, actually, to think that, you're not woke enough, you're not educated enough about all these issues. But the thing is, you can't really say that about every single person, because I feel like being woke is a conscious decision that each person needs to make on their own. I know that a lot of people in that generation, they do take the effort to educate themselves and to learn about these issues. Like, you still read the news, and I know some of my friends, they've been having open conversations with their parents about everything going on, and I think that's amazing. I think that's great. I feel that everyone, no matter how old you are, you have the opportunity to educate yourself, no matter what point you are in life, because, like I said, staying woke is a conscious decision that each person can make at any point in their life. Relating this back to cancel culture, I think it's also important to normalize, changing opinions, because people of older generations, sometimes the way that they grew up and the culture and the environment that they were around them has shaped them to believe certain things or to think a certain way. But I think it's so important to remember that you're not limited to this belief. And it's also important for us as Gen Z to remember that, so we don't entirely stigmatize people who are older than us for not knowing as much. Because when you learn new things, you can change the way that you think. You can change the way that you perceive things. And that's sort of the change that we're trying to make. I think it's just important to give everyone the equal opportunity to learn about and to educate themselves on all of these things, because no matter how old you are, you can be as woke as you want.
Yeah, I'm going to start taking questions from people who are on Zoom, and if anybody else is on watching live on Facebook, if you have a question, do write it down in the comment section. We'll try to cover as much as possible. So there's one question right here from somebody. Who are your role models? Do you have any?
In terms of, let's say, work ethic and what I want to do in the world, I have to be honest, I don't feel like I have like one role model that I feel like, oh, like I want to be that person. I always find it so difficult to answer questions like this.
Yeah,
I guess
that's okay. I think that's okay. Like, if I think if someone asked me that too, I think that would be hard to answer, because the way I feel like I'm supporting my community is just because I feel like there's a need, so I'm just there. So like I didn't look up to
Yeah,
somebody and say like, oh, I want to be like that person, right?
yeah, definitely. I feel that um, if the question was say like what drives me to be who I am right now, I guess I look at what I want the world to be like and what I can possibly do to contribute towards that world. And I also think about how I can be the best version of myself. And I guess that's what pushes me forward as well. In terms of character, my role models would probably be members of my family, my grandparents, who I think have amazing character and personalities, and I try to um, not really mimic, but I guess I admire the way that they present themselves, and that's something that I look at.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So here's another follow-up question from the same person, and then I have another question here too. What inspired you to start this, and was there a specific topic, incident, event, injustice that got you started on this journey?
Actually, there was back in April of 2019, there was this case of sexual assault in Indonesia,
Okay.
and it went quite viral. There was a hashtag trending called Justice for Audrey. Um, and during that time, I had already been involved in a number of other organizations and clubs, but they talked about specific issues. Like, for example, they only talked about gender equality, or they only talked about animal conservation, things like that.
Yeah.
And in those organizations, I didn't really feel um, like it was open enough for me to talk about this case about sexual assault and bullying, because it wasn't really in line with the organization's mission and their vision, which I completely understand. So from there, I thought, okay, what if I just made a completely new platform where I could talk about any issue I wanted to talk about? And that's where Project Buzz was kind of born from. And that's why we tend to have spreads or issues. So for a month or a couple weeks, we would talk about this issue, and then we would talk about another issue. And when something really urgent happens, we would have a flash issue or something like that. So Project Buzz was kind of a way for me to be able to um, have a platform and to talk about whatever issue was going on in the world. So I didn't feel restricted to talking about merely one cause.
Another question for you here. How do you react or respond to someone who's older than you, and their opinion is very conservative, especially when like especially when you have a discussion with them, maybe in person?
The ideal reaction would be, of course, first of all, to keep a level head, because with the understanding, like I said before, how we all create perceptions and ideas based on how we were raised and the environments that we're around. So we can't really blame people for that. And that's why I feel that attacking them isn't the right approach to take. Um, of course, well, having an educational conversation with somebody is, we would like to have the end goal of changing their opinion. However, it's also important to respect people's boundaries. But where I draw the line is, if the other person's opinion doesn't disrespect the existence or the freedom of another group of people or any individual person, then I can respect it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it does crosses that line where it does disrespect somebody and it does dishonor their existence, and that's when I feel that I am in the right place to, let's say, counter their argument or to debate with them about it. But I feel that when you're debating an issue like this, I think it's so important not only to play into emotions, because as much as empathy is so important, it's also important to bring up the facts. And you need to be educated enough on the topic yourself to be able to educate someone else on it, you know. So we need to be aware of the of everything going on with the situation itself, or if we're not, then we can go through it with them and things like that. So essentially it's just about keeping an open mind to everything as long as it's not disrespectful.
That's a very wise answer. I know, Greg, I know you're running in Washington State. Did you have a
Hello.
question? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. How do you fund it? Are there all the projects are? I mean, volunteers. I know volunteers, but if you wanna get bigger, you need to have budget, right? You need to have money to do that. So that's the first question. Another.
So right now, Project Buzz is entirely volunteer based. All of my team members do their work voluntarily, which I'm amazed with because it is a lot of work and it's a lot of dedication, and I love my team so much for doing that. For when we grow and our future events that we would like to hold, hopefully our funding can come from sponsorships for specific events and other benefactors like that. So hopefully we can do that soon, and hopefully it'll flourish. But right now we are entirely volunteer based, and I do plan for Project Buzz to be entirely a nonprofit organization.
As you know, right now, there's a big problem in the United States, which is racism, right? COVID and racism, but right now is the Black Lives Matters, the movement, which is I truly support and I love it. What do you think about that, the BLM? All right, thank you.
I think it's an amazing movement. I have been I've been advocating very strongly for the movement on my personal page, on Project Buzz as well. I'm a great supporter of it. And I feel that this is a time where people are really saying enough is enough, you know, because the thing is, police brutality and discrimination against the Blacks in America is not a new thing. It's been going on for as long as anyone in the States can remember. And every single time it becomes somewhat of a trend, right? So we get justice for a certain person who just had an incident with police brutality. But what's striking to me about this specific movement this time around is that people are working extra hard to keep the momentum, because people are trying to make this into something deeper than a trend, which I admire and I advocate for so much. I feel that, you know, right now our Instagram feeds are turning back to normal. People are going back to posting selfies instead of petitions and donation links. And though, you know, I can respect wanting to go back to your regular lives, I feel that it's still so important to keep the conversation going. But I feel that BLM, BLM as well as a bunch of other issues should not only be restricted to online activism and advocacy. I feel that it needs to extend to your offline conversations as well, because the way to make real change is to change perceptions, the way that people think. And the way that you can do this is by, you know, having difficult conversations with your friends and your families who maybe hold implicit racist biases, even if they don't know it. Mm-hmm. Because another important thing about discussing not only racism, but any social issue for that matter, is that you need to be able to be uncomfortable, because you cannot grow from comfort. How you grow as a person and how change is actually made is by putting yourself in these uncomfortable positions so you can learn from it. Like, for example, you can talk all you want about systemic racism to someone who understands systemic racism, and you will have a very pleasant conversation. It will be great. It will be stimulating for your mind, and you will have, you know, it will be a good conversation for you. However, how you actually make change is say you talk about systemic racism to someone who doesn't understand systemic racism, or perhaps to someone who disagrees with systemic racism. And that change of perspective that you could possibly make, that's how you can actually make change. So in terms of BLM and what I think it's amazing. Happy for I'm happy that this conversation is finally happening in a way that people are taking it more seriously. And I think that we should all continue to amplify Black voices, even when it's not trending anymore.
Santa Tricia from Washington, D.C. is saying she is super proud of you. She just want to say that.
Thank you.
So she has several questions. Where do you go to school?
I go to Mentari Intercultural School, Jakarta. I am going to be entering my senior year this July.
Biggest challenge?
It's my biggest challenge in running this project as a teenager. I would say it's, honestly, it would have to be taking care of my mental health. I feel like that is definitely the biggest challenge for me, especially considering, well, first of all, I'm a teenager, you know, everything's a bit chaotic and complicated, and we have a lot of things going on. So that added on to Project Buzz, as well as my involvement in a couple of other things, it's very difficult to maintain a balance in my life. So balance, I guess, is also one of the greatest challenges, because I have to think about Project Buzz, of course, keeping it up and running. And then I have to think about, you know, applying to university later this year in a couple months. I have to think about maintaining my school grades. I have to think about my family. I have 2 little siblings, and I have to also think about myself. I have to think about keeping myself sane and, you know, practicing self-care, taking care of myself, just making sure that I'm mentally okay. And that definitely has been a struggle for me, but I'm pushing through, getting, just hanging in there, I guess. I see another question here. It's asking how I take care of myself. So I guess it's about knowing when to take a break, because I get burnt out a lot considering everything on my plate. So it's very important for me to remember to take a step back, do something for myself, you know, just take an hour to paint, to take a nap, to play piano, play with my dog, things like that.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, that definitely has to be the biggest challenge.
Yeah. And this is also related to another person's question, Tante Karin from Virginia. How do you see yourself in 5 years, or how do you see yourself when you're older, when you're, let's say, 10 years, 5-10 years?
God, I don't know. Let's see, 5 to 10 years. So I would be 22 to 27. So I'm turning 17 this year. I guess I would be studying, I suppose, still in university, because I do intend on pursuing a master's or maybe even a doctorate degree. So I'll probably be in school, still learning, still educating myself, still growing. Hopefully, I would love to see Project Buzz get off the ground more. Hopefully, it'll grow into something bigger that can be passed down to my peers and to the members of my team right now. But honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I have no clear direction on my future. I don't know what I want to be in the future. But one thing that I would say, you know, if I achieved this, I have lived a successful life. It's if I was able to contribute in some way to the world around me and to make a meaningful change, because I guess that's what I kind of want to dedicate my life to. It's about influencing people's lives in a good and in a better way, just somehow doing my part in making our society a better place. So wherever I am in 5 or 10 years, whatever it is I'm doing, I hope that with my activities, then I'll be making the world a better place.
Yeah, just as a parent, and also I feel like as a social justice activist, you're only 16. So you do need to be a 16-year-old. You do need to take care of yourself. I think I truly, truly support that. My daughter is also 16. So she's Blasian, actually. She's Black and Indonesian. So I know she's been super vocal about things like this, especially the Black Lives Matter, because that's who she is, right? So please, please do take care of yourself. I think it's super important. I have two more questions. I think if we have time, we'll have Greg ask another question. But here's one question that I thought will be interesting to ask. Have you cut people off because of the toxicity sorry, that come from them? Have you ever cut people off, or have you ever say like, yep, sorry, bye Felicia, I don't want to talk to you anymore? And it's okay if you haven't, like, have you ever say that? Or maybe even in my personal experience, I even say like, you know what, let me not talk to this person right now, just not right now. Let me just take a break from this person. Have you ever done that?
I don't feel like I have consciously cut someone off.
Okay.
There have been instances where I thought that, like this friendship isn't really benefiting me, so I don't really contact them anymore. But, the other side also doesn't contact me either way, so it was kind of more of like a drifting apart situation.
Okay.
But I feel that something that I do a lot is I tend to not talk to people for a couple hours, sometimes just because I'm not in the right state of mind to talk to people, because let's be real here, talking to people can be quite draining.
Yes.
And sometimes I don't have the energy to exert myself to other people because I'm barely taking care of myself. So sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, I would ghost people for a couple hours or a day or two. I'd eventually get to them, but sometimes I have to put my phone away for a little bit and just limit human interaction to the people in my house and the people who support me. But yeah, I think that's very important, especially if you're dealing with a person who needs you to help them, because a lot of the times, actually all of the time, we need to help ourselves before we help other people.
Absolutely.
Because if we're drained ourselves, we won't have any energy, or we just won't be able to help the other person in an effective and in a healthy way.
Yeah. If you can just give a short answer for this, what do you think are the top 5 issues in Indonesia that you would like us, people who are not in Indonesia, to pay attention to? Maybe specifically to Indonesia, right? For us who are abroad, who may not follow what's going on back home. Is there any, like, there's no 5, like maybe top 3 or whatever it is that you think, like, just pay attention to this specific topics or this specific, social issues?
I guess I'll just mention some of the social issues that I've personally been advocating for. First of all is the situation in West Papua. Okay. Right now, this is gaining a lot of attention ever since BLM started trending in Indonesia. People started pointing their attention to West Papua and the discrimination that they face. However, I feel like it's so important not only to recognize the racism of the situation, but to realize that the situation in West Papua is so much deeper than that. It is rooted in history, it is rooted in politics. So, a deeper understanding of that would be beneficial to us all as Indonesians. Second of all, I would like to say possibly the situation of essential workers especially during COVID-19, because during the PSBB, when we were all socially isolating, these essential workers took a really bad hit, and they were struggling a lot to, feed their families, to bring home substantial income. So, Project Buzz has started a couple of movements to try and help this, and I feel that that's something that needs a lot of attention as well. And perhaps something else that's like more general, but is also very, very important. I'll bring this back up again. It's mental health. I feel that mental health is so important. And I know that this is not only restricted to Indonesia, it's everywhere in the world, but especially here, I feel that it is so urgent to break the stigma so that people can talk about their mental health openly, because the problem with mental health is we are responsible in creating the environment where people are open enough to talk about it. Because if they're not if they don't feel that they can talk about it, then that will just increase or prolong their suffering. And I feel like that's something that we can do directly. As simple as checking up on your friends and family. I think that's so important. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Lutfi, do you want to ask your question yourself? But before Lutfi, let me just say, so Butep from Maryland actually just saying, she just want to say, smart and wise girls like Angie are needed more in this world. So keep up the good work. So these are all like Om and Tante here who are super interested to learn more about Project Buzz. But Lutfi, did you want to ask the question yourself?
Yes. Hi, Angelyna. Good to see you here. You're a very smart girl. So this is a silly question for you, okay? What water you drink?
Right now? Water.
Is it aqua?
Yeah, it is actually.
Oh, wow. Okay, there you go.
Okay. No, I'm saying this because you're a very smart girl. So, this is the terms here. What water you drink.
Yeah. What's in the water, right? Like she's so you're just so smart, so I'm so impressed. Thank you,
Angie. Lutfi is a expert in yoga, so that's why he care about health. He knows.
But also I'm a LGBT activist here in New York.
Oh, so great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another issue that needs a lot of attention.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, that's true.
LGBT community, something I'm very passionate about as well.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any more questions? So
Me.
Okay, go ahead, Greg.
Okay, thank you, Sinta. Angie, you are truly awesome. Hey, are you interested in the politics or to be a politician here? Because, good example, right now all the Gen Z and then the K-pop fans just made a headline from the Trump rally.
Yeah.
Because they know the platform, which is the technology, TikTok, Instagram, and then you are expert on that, and that's in the future is technology that we will use. So you can change the bad things from the bad people, try to fool everyone, and then so you can stop it or change it. So I think the only way is to be a politician, to be somewhere or in MPR, DPR in Indonesia, because they are the one who propose and then who make regulations, who make a law. So I don't know what do you think, but I suggested you to be at least around the government, so you can, because you have a brilliant idea, you have all the knowledge, and then science, you believe in science and everything, social justice. So that's a very, very good baseline if you want to be a politician. So again, congratulations on your projects, and I hope Sinta, maybe I hope we can collaborate more, and then we help them. We need to help them.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
they can grow.
So,
they can grow. They can.
Yeah. So,
All right.
I guess that's the question. Are you planning to become, or are you even interested in become a politician?
Thank you again for your question. I think you make a very valid point about how politicians do have the power to facilitate change through legislations and things like that. I personally have not been interested in becoming a politician, mainly because I feel that the world of politics is a world that is much more complicated than, you know, the eye can see, because I feel that in politics, it doesn't only come down to what you want for the world, and it doesn't only come down to what change you want to make exactly, because there are so many other factors to consider, of course, because there's obviously, as a member of MPR or DPR, you have to first of all listen to the other members of in the field, and then you also have to think about the interests of the country. You have to think about the economy. You have to think about all of these different aspects, and it's not only social. Because me personally, I feel that I am mostly passionate about the social aspect of these issues. I feel like it's something that I connect with more. But, you know, considering I don't really know what I want to do with my future yet, I can consider it.
Yeah. We probably, you know, like, think about it. You have time. And just one more question, and then we can wrap it up. This is coming from Tante Butet. She has a question. What is your message to parents who has teenagers? What is the best way to handle teenagers in terms of discipline? Ooh, this is get a little bit. Should teenagers have free choice of anything they want? Very interesting with that. I mean, I have 4 teenagers on my own, maybe 3. The other 2 are a little bit older, but yeah. So I'll be curious to hear what you say.
I have to answer this question very carefully because I think my parents are watching.
Yeah. So I guess, like, she's saying, she clarified a little bit. What's your dream parents? I mean, like, with that's a little bit hard. So just answer as best as you can.
Okay. First of all, you know, if my parents are watching, I'm sorry if, you know, say anything questionable. As a teenager, I feel that one way to keep your children safe, but also letting them, say, learn things on their own and experience life. I think it's important to, yes, you need to supervise them and, you know, make sure that they're safe and take care of them. But I feel that moderation is so much better than restriction, because the thing with teenagers is that they're very rebellious in nature. So if you tell them, you know, don't do this, they're gonna find a way to do it. This is, I feel, a similar way with a lot of other issues, say, like the regulation of certain say illegal acts or contraband, things like that. I feel that if someone wants to do something, they're gonna find a way to do it.
Yes.
But as a parent, what you can do is you can make sure that if they want to do that, they'll do so in a safe way. So you can more of supervise, moderate, kind of regulate the way that they do things. But if you cut it off completely, then you cut off that safe way, and they may end up doing that same thing, but in a way that may be dangerous or unsafe, or, you know, outside of your knowledge. Because then that in turn becomes even more unsafe and dangerous than if they were to actually do it anyway, but with your guidance. So I feel that I guess my advice to parents would be, you know, trust your kids, especially if you know that they're good kids. You know, you don't have to micromanage them, but of course I understand the need to keep them safe. So if they want to do something, you know, let them do it, but in your terms. Because the thing is, like 70 or 80% of the time, they're going to do it anyway, but not in your terms. So you might as well know that they're doing it, but know that they're doing it in a safe way.
Yeah, thanks, Ange. I mean, I know I'm very Indonesian, and in the way I raise my kids is very Indonesian, meaning that what I learned from my parents. And then I have an American husband who's actually would tell me, like, don't do that, because, you know, you don't just tell a teenager, do this because I told you so. You know, sometimes I feel like we are forgetting that well, I shouldn't say young children, our teenagers they also have mind of their own. So that I feel like that communication is important, right? So I'm learning and keep practicing that. Like when I tell them, I don't like you to do this thing because this is how I feel about it. But then I open the communication, and then usually that works better. Not all the time,
definitely.
but it works better.
I think it's important to remember that your children are people too.
Yep.
So the best way to reason with them isn't necessarily to, you know, discipline them very autocratically, but let's say more of appealing to them as people and making sure that you're on the same page. Because if you have the same understanding, then you'll both be able to go in the same direction willingly, you know, without all the kicking and screaming, as if, you know, you just said, like, because I told you so. Because, well, for me at least, and I'm sure a lot of my peers feel this way too, I don't like doing things if I don't understand why I'm doing them.
Absolutely.
So I think that that's very important.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up. I mean, I'm sure we can talk some more. We can, you know, we can spend hours just talking about just different things. So I want to thank you again, Ange, for coming, and then want to thank Project Bus for allowing the time to actually answer questions, and then super proud of all of you. I feel that we have hope that the youth are fighting the same fight that we are in, and caring about all these social issues. If you ever need support from us, you know, like all of these friends that are here actually will be happy to help you. So if Project Buzz ever want to host like an event or things like that, please do reach out to us. And I hope that we can continue this conversation, like maybe even on a specific topic. I have your number, so I hope you don't mind if I bug you and then say like, hey, do you want to join this discussion? Or anybody from Project Buzz, right? It doesn't have to be just you all the time. If you want to share with the other divisions, yes, please. I'll be happy.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Angie.
Thank you, Angie. Thank you, Angie. Stay healthy.
Appreciate it.
You
Stay
too.
fabulous
Stay
and healthy.
everyone.
All right, thank you. Bye.
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 Bye.